Franklin is driven back onto the streets in Snowfall Season 6, Episode 4, while Veronique and Cassandra go after his stolen money. Big D and Leon argue. Teddy begins looking for his KGB counterpart. Since Season 1, Snowfall has experienced these moments as we watch Franklin change before our eyes from a young neighborhood boy to a powerful drug dealer. Beyond that, the political and race themes trump the drug and gang culture, creating a comprehensive portrait of American history from an angle we don't often see. The world that Snowfall masterfully depicts is one in which people are born into a system that forces them to either murder or be killed through the lives of Franklin and his network of friends and family. You only have two choices if you want to live as a black person in South Central Los Angeles, or really anywhere in the country. Submit to a system meant to oppress you or devote your life to fighting it. The psychological turmoil that results from this situation is particularly particular to offspring of enslaved Africans, and it is frequently made worse by the extreme decisions people make in order to feel complete. This episode examines how each character is coping with the realization that, no matter what, they may never truly escape this repressive system, even though it wasn't as explosive as the first episode of Season 6. Franklin maintains that all of his actions are entirely altruistic and motivated by a desire to better his family, much like Walter White did prior to his confession in the series finale. His actions could change the destiny and fortune of this bloodline for generations, he warns his mother. He's anxious to get his money back and make sure his loved ones are secure now that he has a big target on his back. He begins with his mother, paying her a visit at the shelter in an effort to persuade her to leave once more in order to keep her safe from his enemies. She flatly declines, for Sissy, contributing to the unavoidable damage repair is the only way she can find fulfillment within this system. Franklin scoffs at her for feeling guilty about enjoying the lifestyle he supplied for her and points out how he changed her from being a lackey for her landlord to having access to the entire world. Franklin doesn't realize that Sissy doesn't think her existence of drugs and violence is any better than it was before. Franklin lacks his mother's sympathetic and complex perspective due to his tunnel vision. Instead, he is prepared to use any means required to recover his money. Franklin always opts to murder rather than be killed, and his child's mother shares this trait, a quality she inherited from her own mother. The next stage of Franklin's strategy to convince Teddy to transfer the money back to his account is started by Cassandra and Veronique. The three of them travel to Kansas City to visit Teddy's father, Jack, who resides in a retirement community there. Veronique and Cassandra pose as an elderly lady and her daughter to gain entry to the facility in the hopes that holding Teddy's father as ransom will make him comply. Before Franklin and Veronique show up, Cassandra seduces him into escape with her, and she fuels him with cigarettes, martinis, and in-depth discussion. Teddy receives Franklin's text message and upon seeing the Kansas City area number, makes a quick call back. Teddy is informed by Franklin that he is keeping Teddy's father hostage until Teddy returns the money. Teddy claims that he doesn't give a damn about his father and that killing the father of a CIA officer will only cause problems. Franklin calls Teddy's bluff and stabs Jack in the neck right away, allowing Teddy to hear his father's final gasps for air while he is genuinely in the most irrational and impulsive state we have ever seen him in. He claims that after Parissa, his kid, and anyone Teddy cares, he will pursue her next. Franklin then sets Jack's corpse inside the home on fire. Jerome experiences an existential dilemma regarding his place in the drug trade as Franklin descends into complete desperation and destruction. First, he and Louis learn that Franklin's participation in their failed attempt to kill Kane was a contributing factor. Then, after Dion loses the battle, he comes over and demands vehemently Leon's allegiance. They settle down and talk about the state of the game, with Jerome pointing out that their kind is a dying breed, and that today's youth are far more ruthless and loyal to no one but themselves. Dion makes it plain that he is not comparable to Jerome, and that Jerome is a member of a rapidly vanishing breed. Jerome becomes depressed over this and departs the club without informing Louis of his whereabouts. To distract himself from his thoughts, Jerome pulls up to his friend Clyde's auto repair shop. He asks Clyde if he can help while Clyde fixes his car. They chat and drink while laughing about how much time has gone. Unlike Jerome, Clyde managed to avoid living on the streets and found a home with his family. A car that is playing loud music circles the store a few times, raising suspicion in both Clyde and Jerome, highlighting the contrast between their lives. When Jerome pulls his gun out of his car to defend himself, Clyde tells him to leave because he has family waiting for him, and that Jerome's presence could create trouble. Jerome, who is aware that this is the case, leaves angrily after realizing that given his advanced age, his time on the streets is likely to result in death. He downs a container of Crown Royal while trashing his pager. When they are also forced to choose what part they will play now that they are back in Los Angeles, Leon and Wanda have barely had time to recover from the altercation with Dion. Members of Dion's team approach him with a proposal before he can even ice his injuries. After the battle, Dion reportedly full of all the goods and money, so they look to Leon as the next logical leader. They are respectfully honest with him, informing him that his erratic presence is confusing to them and that they want stability, even if stability to them includes gang activity. This is an interesting instance that illustrates how effectively white supremacy operates even in the absence of any white people. Similar to how many plantation overseers were black themselves, black people have been socialized to unwittingly aid in their own enslavement as a result of decades of tyranny and surveillance. The basic premise of the entire show is that in the 1980s, black people in gang violence were used as a conduit for the American government to maintain global supremacy at the expense of their well-being. Leon is drawn back into gang life and ascends to the top of the order rather than making an effort to undo the harm Kane caused to the neighborhood, maintain the status quo, and keep the money coming in. Another cautionary story about how the drug trade is like a magnet, drawing everyone it touches back in. Leon's rise to leadership is. Gustavo knows how difficult it is to ultimately break free and live as a free man, but he is trying frantically to do so. He reveals Sayamura the truth about it all while being torn between the CIA, the KGB, and the DEA. Talk about stressful. He can't sleep or eat, and he's at his wit's end. After the assault on Teddy's warehouse, he informs her that everyone will be placed in witness protection. But Sayamura, like Sissy, is unwilling to live a secret existence. Gustavo tells Teddy the truth after being pressured by her to find a way to offer her the normal life she deserves. Teddy is prepared to kill Gustavo when they meet over a busy motorway, but he doesn't know why they are there. Gustavo confesses to talking to Ruben and begs Teddy to remove the product from the warehouse. Teddy, who had preceded Gustavo and had moved the cocaine, informed Gustavo that Ruben was a KGB agent and admitted to having trailed Gustavo. Informing the DEA of the KGB's involvement, Gustavo instructs them to cancel the raid. Teddy enters Ruben's apartment as part of his ongoing investigation. He doesn't discover much when he looks around other than a few magazines with pictures of men. This is actually a very significant change in the 1980s. Teddy informs his handler of this discovery and notes that a gay KGB agent is especially risky because he is a man with many secrets to keep hidden. Franklin kills Teddy's father brutally in the episode's climax, and everyone involved wonders if it's even possible to live a normal life one day. So it's important to plan for the worst before praying for the best, as Cassandra advised Veronique.